This bar, which smelled like cat piss, had bugs floating in its bottles. How could things get any worse? Well, stick around to find out, because we're gonna reveal the nastiest bar in the history of bar rescue. In the second episode of the third season, we were introduced to the most disgusting bar we've ever seen. Headhunters, owned by Steve Ritchie, was visited by John Taffer this time around. Ritchie, being an ex-engineer, got tired of the corporate world and started Headhunters in 2003. He established a fetish-themed tiki bar with live music operating out of the Red River District in Austin, Texas. In the beginning, the bar managed to rack up quite a fortune. However, considering how there was tons of competition in the area and how Ritchie refused to upgrade his bar, things slowly went downhill. Headhunters took a major hit when popular bands, which once played at the venue, started to move on to flashier and newer bars. With the bar on its last legs, Ritchie made the poor decision of showcasing a freakish show called Punk and Porn. The performance was a mix of punk bands playing on stage with old black and white porno being viewed in the background. While this idea was implemented to draw in more clientele, the only thing it did was create more outrage and further harm the bar. Later on, Taffer visited with his wife, Nicole, Joe Brook, and Jesse Barnes for recon. Right off the bat, they felt like the exterior was too sketchy and suspicious to enter. Prior to Taffer's arrival, the crew had interviewed potential customers on the streets and gathered their opinions, which were resoundingly negative.
It was really sketched out and I didn't want to go inside and I'm never going back. That's scary.
Following this, when Taffer and his team entered, they were shocked by the appalling performance of gore and violence. Besides the grotesque performance, the interior reeked of cat urine. Now, that's not something you usually find at a bar, right? So, if you're wondering how this happened, Ritchie was to blame. The man was so full of outrageous ideas, and letting his cat loose was one among many. And this is the reason why he did it. Taffer was already enraged about the condition of the bar, but he still decided to order a drink for his wife. However, Nicole spotted something disgusting in the bottle she was being served. The bartender immediately tried to take the bottle away from her, but reluctantly handed it over to Taffer. Wondering what mystery lied within? Well, you'll have to see this to believe it.
There's a cockroach in there.
So now you know why the episode was aptly titled Rockin' Roaches. Whether the patrons had a rocking time or not, the roaches sure didn't. Taffer then called over Ritchie to confront him about this, but he was in denial about the roaches and refused to change anything.
The staff told me that they see cockroaches every day here. Been here for a day.
Cockroaches in bottles. There are no bugs in the bottles.
Do you know it?
Do I know what?
That there's bugs all over your bar.
There's bugs all over Austin.
According to him, he knew what was best for the bar. A pissed off Taffer then asked his experts to scan the bar for more hazardous violations, and this is when things got even worse. When Barnes and Brooks stormed into the bar, almost everything they came across was wrong. The first issue at hand was the moldy ceiling that was coming apart and literally falling into customers' drinks. This was a clear-cut example of neglect from Ritchie, but he was so egotistical that he refused to accept his faults. Instead, he blamed it on his employees. But what he said next will make you question his intellect.
A professional is you don't serve bugs to your customers.
Maybe you're the biggest bug.
From an unhappy staff to health code violations, how else could we better define the makings of a failing bar? Well, as Brooke investigated the bar, he found several more bottles with bugs and fruit flies in them. When Taffer poured out a drink, it revealed the worst possible contents within a single bottle.
There's about 30 cockroaches in there. Look at that.
That's when Taffer finally shut the place down and called in some exterminators. With that fiasco done, Taffer met with the staff and Ritchie 2 days later. Since the exterminators had done their job, the bar had slightly improved, but the employees still needed some training. Before that, Taffer showed the team how far the infestation had gone and proved to them that the bar was home to a bunch of insects. As expected, Ritchie was unbothered by the condition and wasn't ready to own up to his mistakes. To him, everything was a joke.
There's mold everywhere in these ceilings. This place has never been cleaned. It's not connected to the ceiling, it's falling in your drinks, which means you're drinking mold.
Guess some people never change, huh? Taffer was unimpressed and totally pissed off by Ritchie's attitude. However, he continued on with the rescue anyway and asked the staff to clean things up. This is when the employees made another crazy revelation. All of them had been working at Headhunters for free. No wonder the bar was going under. The unkempt bar and unpaid employees made this business nasty in every sense of the word. Unfortunately for Ritchie, the bar didn't seem to last long despite Taffer's best efforts and was forced to shut down in mid-2014. If roaches don't make you squirm, then how about this bar, which had a dirty and smelly cesspool in its basement? Empty Bottles, located in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, opened in 2008. The owner, Tracy Bigford, hired Gina as the bar manager, and a couple months later, the pair fell in love with each other. But this sweet story didn't extend on to their business. With over $250,000 of debt, Empty Bottles was in dire need of help. For recon, Taffer was joined by Big Smo, a country rapper, and Sketch, a culinary expert with several years of experience in the industry. Smo, who was already familiar with the bar, was the ideal person to paint a picture of the place for Taffer. Let's just say his review of the bar wasn't that great. The major issue with Empty Bottles was that they didn't have a liquor license and that they had a strange policy of bringing your own booze. Taffer put this policy to the test by sending in 2 regular patrons. He wanted to see if they could spend almost no money at the bar while still enjoying drinks, and that was exactly the case. What's more, the bar was extremely neglected. Despite the fact that there was so much disorder in the bar, the owners paid no heed to it. The two of them cared so little about what was going on in their business that one bartender was seen doing this.
How's the twins doing? They are... You want to see some titties? Oh, there we go!
Clearly, there was no discipline in this bar at all. Having seen enough, Taffer walked over to the bar and noticed a nifty system that was made to dispose of empty bottles. This was one of the many inventions that Tracy had crafted. Taffer then asked to be taken to the basement of the bar where all the bottles were being stored. And that's when things took a major turn.
I want to see where this goes. Show me down below?
Yes, sir.
Great, let's do it. I mean, this is really disorganized down here. We got fruit flies, we got mold everywhere, we got smell everywhere, and the smell goes upstairs.
It was now clear where the foul smell was coming from. Taffer continued on with his inspection, but the stench only got increasingly worse. To his surprise, the basement had a disgusting pool of water underneath, which Gina referred to as natural spring water.
What is this?
This is a natural spring.
Natural spring water? This is not natural spring water. Smell this.
To prove them wrong, Taffer scooped up the black gunky water that left a thick residue when the contents were poured out.
Look at this.
Smell it!
This is not spring water.
The famous rescuer initially believed that the cesspool was an infestation of black mold and lashed out at the owners.
Now, I gotta tell you something. You want to give away liquor, you give away liquor. I'm gonna have this tested in the morning.
If there's black mold in here, we're done.
How could they ignore something as gross as this? He immediately called the team over and had the entire place cleaned up. Thankfully, the test results for black mold turned out to be negative, but that didn't change a thing. This was still an extremely disgusting bar. But that's nothing compared to this next bar from New York, which was severely infested with flies. From flies buzzing around to flies taking a dip in shot glasses, these pests were absolutely everywhere. The premiere of the show's 4th season started off with a bar named Artful Dodger. Owned by Mike Conforti, this bar was infamously known for its 18+ nights, which meant that underage drinking was permissible. Taffer was joined by expert mixologist Phil Wills and hospitality expert Jesse Barnes as Jezel and Amy spied on the Artful Dodger. Both spies were given a smartphone to capture exactly what they were seeing, and boy was it not a pretty sight. The first thing that Jezel gravitated towards was the couch, which looked awful. It looked like it was almost chewed up by rats and had chewing gum plastered on it. As the two went around filming more of the bar's premises, the floors were found to be littered with trash with no regard whatsoever for cleanliness.
Looks like a rat just came in through here and just
There's like 3 fruit flies.
It's totally funny.
I just ordered this drink, which they had to remake 3 times. The flies that were in it, disgusting.
The next thing that caught the eye of Taffer and his team was the unusually large number of flies that were bothering the customers. One of the customers was seen swatting away flies, while another customer found a fly inside his drink. And all of this happened while the two owners just gawked at the customers with no regard for what was happening. Talk about irresponsibility. Speaking of which, the only responsibility you have right now is to offer your love and support to our channel. And to do so, all you have to do is drop a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. It's completely free, so why not just do it? Anyway, let's get back to this bar and see what the spies were up to. When Jezel and Amy ordered some drinks from the bar, they found fruit flies in them. When they asked for a replacement, the fresh drinks had flies in them yet again. After seeing this, Taffer and his experts decided to intervene. An enraged Taffer burst into the bar and questioned Conforti about his ignorance, but sadly fell on deaf ears. Soon after, Taffer made his way to the bar station where he and Wills examined the bottles filled with flies. The famous rescuer poured out a drink, daring Conforti to take a swig of it. This is when the crowd was at its wildest and everybody started to boo Conforti for his ignorance. But to everybody's surprise, he did this.
See the bugs in there? Drink it! Should he drink it?
Did he actually down the entire drink knowing that there was some bugs in it? What do you even call that? Ignorance or stupidity? Following this display of brashness, Taffer threw away the infested bottles and demanded that the bar not be opened until all the flies were cleared up and the bar was spotless. Indeed, this was a nightmare.
Nobody can drink anything in this bar. It is totally unsafe. Shut this bar down. Clean it up. It's gone.
Whew, that was crazy. But have you seen the episode where the chef contaminated the hell out of the entire bar? That bar was gruesome. Head over to our channel to find more crazy, disgusting, and repulsive bars to have been featured on Bar Rescue. So, do you know any other bars that were just as nasty as these? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, guys!